Hello everyone, this video is not sponsored. This set is from the iambrick brand and it's called the Holy Spirit Knights Fortress. I got it from barweir.com at the time. I believe it was around $75 to get it shipped from China. They now, as of the recording of this video, have it in their US warehouse for just over $60 US, and I'm also seeing it on Amazon for a little bit over $70 US shipped. It comes with 2,568 pieces. There are no minifigures included here. The bricks are Go bricks, so the quality is just about as good as you can possibly get. It does have quite a few prints in it. They do technically include a sticker sheet, but it's just a generic one that just has iambrick branding on it, just like a little freebie, but all the decorations that you see here that are graphics are actually printed. If you don't like the fact that this is pretty open around the back, you can close this up most of the way, though, not all of the way. So no matter what, you're still going to have this aisle, this kind of road down the center. And it actually kind of works for me. It kind of makes sense. It would be much nicer if it had some lights in there. But I personally was expecting to have the option to have this fully closed off just based on the pictures. Here's what it looks like fully folded up like this from some different angles. I really like the fact that where it folds, it's hard to see. I mean, if you look closely, you can see where the hinges are, but you don't see just a big flat blank area there in that corner where it folds from that side or from this side over here. There's still texture, there's still detail. And on the topic of texture and detail, there's arguably maybe more than it needs. Again, over 2,500 pieces here. Let me just grab a minifig, just a cheap one over here that's a little bit relevant to give you a little bit of sense of scale. Over 2,500 pieces in a set that's this size is unexpected. I can definitely say I would not have expected to see just something that's this small, this compact, have that many parts. And this definitely went together as somewhat of an advanced build. This is not your 5-year-old's first castle brick built set. You know, this is definitely aimed more towards the adult collector, which totally makes sense to me. And it's not because it has a lot of things that are fragile. There are very few things in this that are fragile as you build it. However, with that part density, we're talking about a whole lot of little pieces. You know, every single little 1x1 that's used to make just a slightly different shape for the crack in the wall back behind there. You know, all that. It's a lot of little stuff, and it's a lot of little pieces that you end up having open at one time. As you're going through the build process. Now, I wasn't able to find digital instructions for this, and that was a little bit of an issue for me because the printed instructions, the way that the instructions are designed, the process of building this totally makes sense. However, the print quality of the instructions doesn't, or maybe the format of it, I'll show it to you a little bit later on, but doesn't show the difference between grays very well. It doesn't show the difference between where brown parts start and end very well. So I ended up resorting to using a magnifying glass on a pretty regular basis. Even in some cases, it was difficult to tell the difference between tiles and prints. Again, I'll show you that a little bit later on. But first, I want to talk about scale here, because scale is really a weird thing with this. It's clearly minifig compatible. So again, just putting a random figure there in that doorway. Like, it's intended to have a figure be able to go through there. And like all this stuff out here is intended to be minifig scale. But then you see some things like this. Look at that. That is clearly a stairway leading up to what? That's supposed to represent a door. It's like reverse forced perspective where things are it's intended to look bigger from the outside. By being smaller from the outside, if that makes sense. You know, they're trying to make this look more grandiose by saying, okay, that's the size of a door right there, you know, the size of the drawbridge here. And this does have a little mechanism. Let me go ahead and bring this around and then just go ahead and lower this, and you'll see it from the other side as well. It's a simple thing, but you know, that's supposed to look like a full drawbridge and gate that's going to let maybe 2 horses come by with their riders on there. But in reality, a single figure just barely, is able to walk through there in terms of the height of it. But then once you get to the interior detail, you get to the stuff back here. Now this is all 100% minifig compatible. Like this space in here is definitely designed to have a minifig standing in there. Although, that said, I didn't actually test this one with the chandelier there. The chandelier up above. And it does get a little bit squishy, doesn't it? Like these accessories are minifig style, but how are you supposed to get a figure in there? It's odd. But then down here, this is perfectly fine to have a figure there. This is clearly, this dungeon prison thing is clearly designed, it's a full-size door. It's designed to be able to have a figure inside of there. And in fact, you got pieces of skeleton inside of there. You know, this is full height here, but then this space here, a little bit compact. Technically can fit a figure if it didn't have a helmet that tall. This one, not really going to work, you know? A lot of minifig style accessories and minifig targeted accessories, including weapons and tools and drinking implements. And you got a map there. Over here, there's another print up inside of there as well. It's a little bit difficult to see some of these things just because, again, it is so dense. But, you know, it's trying to go for the minifig thing, but doesn't quite nail it. I mean, these are just regular, the animals are a regular size. Again, all the weapons and tools and things are regular size. So we've got a cat here. We've got a bunch of birds that are just spread all around, which is nice. Again, the details on the inside are very, very nice, but definitely the scale is probably the weakest thing here, the worst thing about this. This works nicely, the drawbridge. It's just using the larger gears rather than the typical small bevel gears that are usually used for this type of mechanism. This is just so much nicer. It just feels so well located, and they definitely designed that properly. It does have a small bevel gear down underneath there, but just overall, it just has a good secure feeling to it. Like it's not wobbling all around. I love all the prints that are included in here. There's also a bucket for the well. The well doesn't go down very far, but technically you can draw this up. This is the single worst thing as far as durability is concerned, because just the top here is only attached with 2 studs, one on either side. So that you can see that has a little bit of wobble to it. Thankfully, the tree over here feels pretty good to me. Like its density of the canopy feels respectable to me, and I like the variety of the greens in there. See another bird right there, another bird down there as well. However, it didn't take a long time to put this together, and it itself is not too fragile. That's good. Usually once you start to get into detailed trees and large shrubs and things, those themselves are either very annoying to put together because it's a ton of tiny pieces, or they're fragile in the end. Again, you can open this up like this, creates an interesting space over there. I very, very much like these ballista turrets up here, although you can't be too rough with them just because, again, they're attached with just a single stud in some spots, but they just look great. They're probably the best looking ballista turrets I think I've ever seen. And you got extra, I forget, they're not called bolts, are they? I can move these out of the way, and then we got plenty of room to have figures up here kind of just as sentries, as well as having the idea of them manning the turrets. Why am I having trouble getting this figure to attach a foot there? Sorry, that's my bad right there. You got plenty of studs. Come on, get in there. Get. My bad. Sorry about that. Just doing it one-handed. But over here in these battlements, you cannot put a figure back in there because there's only just a single stud of space. Weird scaling. Definitely weird scaling. Bigger on the inside, but not consistently so. Overall, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with the density and the value. Again, the quality of the parts is good. I didn't have any missing pieces. They give you some spares, just some small spares. But let me go ahead and show you the instructions to give you an idea of what I was talking about with the issues that I had with that. So again, the instructions are laid out well enough, but the confusion mostly comes from the depiction of color. And there are 2 issues. So here's one. all these parts that are outlined in red are being added in this step. That's useful, having the outline of red, showing exactly where they go and highlighting them. That works out pretty well. However, it looks here like the parts that are being added are a darker color than the parts that are already there, nearest to it, right, all around there. It also looks like this is the same color as that. Well, that right there, that 1x2 tile right there is the same color as this. It's dark gray. So this is dark gray and that's dark gray, right? Wrong. This one is a slightly different hue. It's a little bit desaturated. It's a little bit warmer color. And all of the pieces, as it turns out, all the pieces that are already there before this step are slightly faded. They're made slightly lighter in color. So this is light gray. All these parts that are being added in this step are light gray. The same as all these lighter looking gray pieces, because these have simply been faded because they were already added there. And you can see it in the next step over here. The light gray pieces that were added in the last step are down there. Now we're adding more light gray pieces on top of that. They just look darker again. And again, you end up with this over here. So that's just a little bit confusing. They're very consistent about it, but it's definitely confusing, especially when you have something that looks very, very similar in shade side by side, but it actually represents something different. So that's dark gray. Here's light gray. Here's new dark gray being added. And in the next step, it's now lightened back up. You can get used to that, but it's a little bit difficult. It definitely took me some time. I definitely had more of an issue with the placements of brown, because brown pieces, let me get you some that, brown and also these dark green pieces. It might look a little bit black on screen right now, but to my eyes, I can see that it's dark green. And also when I opened up this bag 7, it clearly had a limited number of dark green pieces. So I could tell that these are supposed to be dark green, but where's the edge? We have no outline. We have no red outline. And even when they do the red outline, they do it around all the pieces together, such as over here on this step. All the pieces that are being added are outlined. They're not showing you the divisions between the parts. So where is it? So I take it this is a 1x3 and that's a 1x3. Where does the 1x4 go? Does it go at this side or that side? You have to really, really look in carefully. If I can get that to focus, yeah, really, really looking carefully to see exactly where the edge is if you want to be sure to get it right. It's the exact same issue with browns as well. So I don't like that. And this is something that I've seen with instructions of some other sets as well. It's not just from this company. Here's an example of browns. A little bit more difficult, or a little bit easier to see the edges right there, but like here, much more difficult. And you're looking at it really zoomed in. I've seen this exact issue before from some other brands as well. So it must be just whatever software that they're using, where some things get highlighted and then some things don't. Some things are shown in place where they're going to be placed with a highlight. And then some things are shown separate from the part where they're going to be attached. And sometimes that's just a little bit confusing to understand. And sometimes it helps to just look ahead, look at the next step to see where those parts are supposed to land. In this case, it doesn't help so much. Maybe down here, it can help a little bit. Well, here they're already attached, but it's just a little bit of that inconsistency in the approach to showing how the new parts are going to be added from the arrow style to in place. And then again, the main thing, biggest issue being color representation for browns and also for grays. Here it's fine, but then here, these are darker pieces, right? Nope, it's all supposed to be the same. In the end, obviously I got it done, didn't have an issue there. It just ended up being slower than what I'm used to. If the instructions were a little bit more clear with their color, then it would have been easier for me to identify exactly what's going on in each step, and I just would have moved through it more quickly. I'm happy, very happy with the level of detail here, with the value, with the quality of the parts, the number of prints. They're not like yelling at you, hey, look at how many prints we have, but they use them in places that are appropriate, plus some bonus, little areas where you don't really need necessarily to have a print. Like there are some potions in one of these rooms here that actually have prints on them. It's just nice to see as you're putting it together, and you can still see them a little bit after the fact, but not as much. And again, biggest thing here, just weird scale for the whole thing. I am going to try another set from this line. I bought another of their castle-like sets that kind of folds up in a similar way. I bought it off Amazon, so that'll be arriving relatively soon. But I just want to try more than one thing, because definitely good quality here, really good value, especially if you get it from someplace like Bar Weir or something like that from overseas, or even from like a U.S. warehouse on discount. Really nice price to part ratio for folks who care about that. But scale will definitely be an issue, I think, for more people than anything. Second biggest issue will be clarity of the instructions and just needing to go a little bit slower. But that's it for my thoughts on this one. Thank you very much for watching. If you ever see me review something and you're interested in buying it, or interested in buying something similar, please consider using one of my affiliate links in the video description. I can get a very small commission, which then just gets recycled right back into the channel. And, between keeping the lights on and getting more sets to review for you. So thank you to everybody who has helped out. Thank you to the Patreon members, channel members, and Twitch subscribers. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.